Hello.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Good, good. Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday.
Yes. Oh my goodness. What a time. It's been so gross here and rainy and disgusting, but
Oh
how are you?
no.
Yeah,
It's
because we
been,
have the Hurricane Elsa coming through.
that's right. We had like one night of rain, I think, but then it was fine. It's been hot here.
Ew.
Yeah. And today we had to wear polos, which does not mix with heat very well.
Oh, they absolutely don't. I had to work for a library for a summer in Texas and our uniforms were polos.
Ooh.
Nope.
Texas heat is astounding to me.
It is another level. Absolutely. Oh my goodness.
And speaking
So,
of heat,
speaking of heat,
I was just gonna, like, it has nothing to do with all you could ever know, but, or it was just the heat of the book.
oh, yeah, it's heating up. It's heating up. Oh my goodness. Like, I feel like this book is building up just so much anticipation for like, you're really rooting for Nicole at this point.
Yes, most definitely.
Like, I know that it still doesn't it doesn't explicitly like talk about like these experiences from an anti-racist perspective, but like you can also just kind of see it interwoven throughout the book and see how like the different experiences, looking at them with an anti-racist lens for me is interesting because I'm like, okay, how many she didn't have any cultural mirrors growing up, like cultural or racial mirrors growing up, like how many is she intentional about like her medical care team, her doula, is that birthing coach?
Yeah.
Like she doesn't explicitly say like what race they are or anything like that, but it makes me wonder,
Yeah.
because like for me, I made a very conscious decision whenever I moved to New York, that I wanted my medical professionals to be women and Asian.
Was that hard to find?
Not really. I had an app.
Good. An app?
An app and an
Oh,
app. I also had an app. But yeah, you can like search for doctors that take your insurance, and I found them all on the same network, and I was very, very fortunate.
that's
Um,
incredible.
they're all in the same building too.
Hmm.
So all of my primary care physician, my specialty physicians, the only one that is a dude is my orthopedic surgeon,
Okay.
but that's a pretty male dominated space anyway, because
Mm,
sports medicine.
right. That's really great that you made that intentional step, though. I'm trying now to change to make sure that all of my health professionals are Black and women,
Mm-hmm.
but I have not. I don't think it. Now I'm thinking about it. My primary care physician is a woman, but she's not Black, and that's like the most progress I've made.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about like having like the importance of having um a racial mirror for your healthcare provider and your healthcare team?
I just think that I feel more comfortable. I'm fortunate to feel super comfortable with my primary care physicians now, but I would feel more comfortable with someone who was a Black woman. I would, and then it feels that the likelihood of them understanding and not dismissing things that I bring them to them
Mm-hmm.
would decrease if I have a doctor who is also Black and a woman.
Mm-hmm. I feel like there's just like things that they're not quantifiable, but it's like a nonverbal nuance of the patient experience in a medical setting.
Definitely.
Like, because I've been for work, I read a lot of medical journals, and I read a lot of like um guides about like patient experiences and like social worky type stuff in medical social work and stuff like that. And so like it's interesting the studies that they have done on patient experiences. There's not a ton of research on racial experience is specifically like looking at different racial experiences with healthcare, but we do know just from history and from like anecdotal experiences from like for example for Megan Torres, trust me, I'm a social worker on Instagram, her experience with the healthcare system as a Black woman.
Right.
So I would be interested to see more research about that. But I feel like there's just like things that you can't put into into writing almost about the experience of being in a doctor's office.
Mm. Yeah.
Like,
It's certainly already for me a little anxiety
mm-hmm,
provoking because you're in a doctor's office. It's not some place that's meant to be comfortable. So if
mm-hmm,
you can in any way make it a little more comfortable, I feel that's nothing but a benefit.
mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that's just also, there's also its own subculture, the medical subculture, medical jargon, like that doctors and other healthcare professionals just adapt to. And unfortunately, like a lot of other elements to our culture, it's always been geared towards white people.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like white people would be the most comfortable in a doctor's office if you could describe yourself as comfortable in a doctor's office.
Right. Because it's been geared, like you said, towards them, I think. And just to go back to your original question, I think having like a cultural mirror in that doctor's office would be extremely beneficial because then the norm is not a white person.
Mm-hmm.
The norm is like how you're being mirrored in that moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember seeing a TikTok a couple of weeks ago about the opposite. Actually, it was a white patient asked for a different doctor because their doctor was Black, and the doctor at the hospital was like, "I don't know what to tell you because our whole medical team is Black. Peace."
It's just so okay. First of all, it's messed up that racist person was like that, but it's just so wonderful, like the diversity that's now in some health clinics.
Yeah, it was like the attending, the resident, the attending, the resident, the fellow, the nurse, the nurse practitioner, like the medical, the physician's assistant, they were all Black, and so they were like
So I feel confident that I would feel so comfortable there being surrounded.
Mm-hmm.
I will say though, a lot of the times, not where I am now, but a lot of times, like when I go to hospitals and stuff, like the secretaries, the assistants, and even the CNAs, I think, are Black a lot of the times. But it's just when you're talking about like the MD or like the PA, maybe even the RN, then they're overwhelmingly, my experiences, they've been white.
Yeah, same. I don't know. I feel like we talk a lot about medical racism with this book just because Nicole is going through this process of being pregnant, having a kid. But I also don't get tired of talking about medical racism because there's just so much there.
Definitely. And especially because, I mean, I don't know how you feel, but me navigating a lot of medical like spaces.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is something that affects me often.
Mm-hmm.
So like you said, I never get tired of talking about this, or like racism within the education system, because that's like how it was brought up. Yeah, there's more than enough conversation for both of those.
Wahoo. For sure. So what else did you pull out of this week's? I personally was just like, well, I've read it before, so I'm also just excited to hear what you're thinking and what you want to say.
Well, Nicole wrote the letter
Yeah.
to her biological mom, which I appreciate that there was a whole chapter dedicated to how she went about the process of writing the letter. I totally empathized with how she had to sit herself down close to Christmas and say, okay, no, you're writing this letter today. But then also giving herself until Christmas and not rushing it, because I feel that would have been really easy and understandable to sit down, just write a letter, just write something down and send it. Because this is such a emotion packed roller coaster of a ride she's on.
Yeah, and then on top of that, like with your hormones and being pregnant at the same time, I would be on the floor crying. Like, yeah, it like that's I don't know, but I feel like the significance of biological family is pretty prominent throughout most cultures. I can't think of any culture that like family or biological family wouldn't be held to an importance. Maybe in like that dystopian novel The Giver. But
yeah, I can't think of any either.
so like just the significance of writing to someone that you should have known your entire life but you didn't, and meeting them and potentially meeting them as an adult, whether or not it's online or in this case through a letter, is incredibly daunting. Just thinking. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No. My brain just.
And then the fact that she couldn't say anything personal in this like first interact, or technically second, but like this first like consensual interaction with her biological mother. I mean, how do you even write a letter to a biological mother without saying anything personal?
Like even the title of mother, just like I word vomit to my mom all the time. I word vomit to my dad all the time. They're not my biological parents, but just like the title mom, dad, that it feels like there is like some sort of expectation that you should be able to do that. And I know that not everyone is close to their families or their biological parents, or even their adoptive parents. But the overarching cultural narrative, I feel like what you see on like, I don't know, TV shows like Modern Family, on This Is Us, on other sitcoms, like there is a pretty regular communication and a pretty overall, like, even if there's a strained relationship in the TV show, there's still communication.
Right. There's still that underlying, this is your mom, this is your dad. Like there's still that level of what they should know.
Yeah. Like I don't tell my like parents everything about my life. Like my parents don't know that, like, well, they'll know if they listen to this podcast, but
I was wondering what you were about to say.
I was gonna say what I had for dinner. Which was just a giant bucket of lettuce. because I have nothing in my fridge.
Yeah, there are definitely some things that my parents don't know. Nothing bad, nothing scandalous, but there still is that underlying, this is my mom, this is my dad.
Yeah.
Some things that maybe only they know, or some things that I don't even have to say and they know.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like there is this like joke almost where like parents will almost hold things over, like moms can be like, I carried you for 9 months, so you owe me at least this, or like you broke my hips coming out of me or something like that.
Yeah.
Or at least everyone's mom will say that they have wiped their butt at some point.
I was watching Brazilian Alice, which is my favorite fictional show right now, and the mom like walked in on the daughter. She was changing in the like a dressing room, and then her daughter like of course freaked out. It's like a grown woman, like 30 years old, and she was like, "It's nothing I haven't seen before."
Yeah. Yeah, because your parents literally, like, sometimes I don't think about that. I'm like, when you're a baby, your parents are literally like wiping your butt.
Yep. Yeah, they are. I mean, like when you use the bathroom in your diaper, they give you a bath.
Yep.
Like every day. Yeah.
Yep. And they did that until you gained independence to be able and potty trained to be able to like not do that anymore. And like the amount of like care that some parents like do, I'm thinking about like all of the emotions that like must have been going through Nicole's head during that time, because like her biological parents didn't have those experiences with her. So there is that disconnect between there is that disconnect between that whole like those bonding familial intimate moments, like whenever you're like really really little, that inherent, oh, they're my parents, so I'm gonna tell them, they're gonna actually know like at least this much about my life, you know. There isn't that feeling, I guess, with people who have been separated from a parent at a young age.
And I know that a big part of when she was writing that letter about like two biological parents who didn't have those experiences, she was thinking about her adoptive parents who did have those experiences with her, and just like that contrasting like fight within herself because she didn't want to betray her parents, she didn't want to disappoint them or hurt them.
Yeah, like I don't know, it just I feel like for me, like having this idea that like you'll betray your adoptive parents if you look for your bio parents, like that's just more people to potentially love you and to be in your family. Like I don't really see much like why there would be any, you know, like uncomfortable feelings with that or feelings of competition. I do know that like feelings of inadequacy and self-esteem in regards to not self-esteem, self-consciousness, words. Just being self-conscious and feelings of inadequacy and stuff like that can come up, but that doesn't mean that brain, why isn't brain working? It's because I only had lettuce for dinner.
Yeah. I think that in so many ways we're caught up in this, it's X or it's Y. There is no gray area. There is no in between. And like you said, I completely agree with you. It's not if someone searches for their biological parents that like their adoptive parents aren't enough, or that they're like betraying them or anything like that. I'm kind of, I see this fear, and it's all throughout this book when Nicole Chung talks about her adoptive parents, of if you find your biological parents, like maybe they'll hurt you, just like hurt your feelings or disappoint you, or maybe they'll take you from me. And while I totally get it, I think because that is like their child, it's just like blinded by fear, because I feel if you take a step back and see like you are their parents, you know, like nothing's going to change that, no matter what level of relationship they have with their biological parents, like whatever relationship grows, that doesn't threaten your relationship with your child. I think that is universal. I think there's so many ways in which we're so blinded by fear that we don't make the right decision.
Yeah, like I think it, like, it's not to the same like extent, but it would be like if, say, like we're friends and then but you're also friends with your sibling, you know, like you can have more than one friend.
Exactly.
So why shouldn't that apply with adoptive and birth parents?
Exactly. It doesn't make, I mean, there's this huge thing right now
But also
about like other people's success.
Mm-hmm.
And so if, for example, you've got a great job, that doesn't make me any less successful. So why would I be jealous of you?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a similar principle. Like it doesn't take away from what you have.
Exactly. Like it's not the same concept as you have a giant rack of ribs and I'm jealous of that giant rack of ribs, because that is warrant to be jealous because that is a giant rack of ribs.
Absolutely.
And it's a finite amount of ribs.
Yes, but because me having all the ribs definitely takes away from you having ribs.
Exactly. But for things such as familial relationships, friendships, like the amount of love and affection you can give towards a person, that is something that is not finite.
Yes. And I've been working on just understanding that it's not about me. So I feel if more people maybe took on this, then we wouldn't have problems like this where, okay, so maybe I'm not 100% comfortable with, what's a good example. Maybe I'm not 100% comfortable with somebody doing something. I don't want to like say the wrong example, but somebody doing something I'm not 100% comfortable with, but taking a step back and saying, oh, but it's really good for that person. Like taking myself out of it because it's what's best for them. Okay. It's not an easy thing to do, but it certainly has helped just me to realize the world does not revolve around me. My world revolves around me, but everyone's world does not revolve around me, and it shouldn't.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I see how that would be like a hard example. Oh yeah. So like maybe if it was like me wanting to buy another plant. You don't think that me buying another plant might be healthy for me, but I think me buying another plant is healthy for me. I have the money and I have the space, and plants make me happy.
Exactly. Just because I'm not comfortable with the amount of plants that you have, just understanding understanding that your air is cleaner, your mental health is better. Like that's better for you. Like who am I to say no, don't buy another plant? Because I'm not comfortable.
You also might have glanced at my bank account, so that might also be warranted.
I was about to say, you certainly do not have the space.
Yeah, if you look at my room / like my bank account, like I have a little bit of space left. I have 2 empty pots. Like I have about a square foot of space left. I can fit about 3 plants in there.
And you certainly will try.
Yes. And I can always screw more holes into my walls. Sorry, my landlords.
Yes, that was a perfect example otherwise, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was there anything that stuck out to you?
I don't know, but like I'm trying to like tie this back to another tie it back to anti-racism as well. Like there might be some like implicit biases. I know that from like implicit racial biases or racially motivated bias that might be unconscious. What am I trying to say? When some of the people that I've seen in the adoption community, like, and some people that I've read about in their experiences with adoptive parents, talking really talking like badly about biological parents, and like sometimes the bad talking would be based in racial stereotypes. So
About biological parent? I mean, biological parents? Okay.
about biological parents. So sometimes the adoptive parents would say things that are bad about the biological parents, based in racial stereotypes. Like, for example, they would say, oh, the parent was on drugs, or oh, the parent did X, Y, or Z. And so like I'm just trying to think about like how racial bias like can also touch these really, really tough conversations as well, and these feelings of inadequacies in the adoptive parents, if the adoptive parents are white, and if the adoptive parents are not, like that just adds a whole nother element to it.
Definitely. Because then that's another, I mean, like Nicole Chung, her adoptive mom was talking about how she heard many stories about like the biological parents reaching out and requesting like a lot of money or different types of resources from their kid as opposed to just wanting a relationship. But even that feels like a stretch, like many stories.
Mm-hmm. And like,
and yeah, that could.
Hmm?
Go ahead. I was just gonna say that could be based in racial bias.
Yeah, and like there are even like there's even adoptive parents that can be exploitive of their children for money or for whatnot. Like a parent being exploitive of a child is not unique to adoptive cases.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, like that kind of stuff still does happen even with non-adoptive cases with adoptive parents. Like just because someone was had chosen placement for adoption does not, like, I feel like demonizing birth parents is like whenever you play like seen as something that is just inherently like bad, like black and white, bad and good, you know, and it doesn't really take into thought, like extenuating circumstances for sure.
And nobody benefits from demonizing biological parents.
It's true. It's true. Like to what benefit would demonizing biological parents, like what benefit would come out of that for the adoptive parents, making the adoptive parents look better?
But then I feel that creates this barrier where the kid knows they can't talk to the adoptive parents about maybe their biological parents or the culture that they come from, because that's how you talk about it.
And in the end, it really just makes the adoptive parents not look great, in my opinion. Yeah. I don't know. Heavy stuff.
Trying to think of what else happened and how it could be put on an anti-racist perspective can be put on it. This is just like, this particular part of the book is just so personal that I haven't seen anything. It's just like, it's a inner conflict between within Nicole Chung. So I'm trying to think if there was anything. Nothing's coming to mind.
No. Well, I think it was a smaller section. I'm excited to see how like the story continues and how and how we can continue to put an anti-racist spin on things. But what were you saying?
I will say, okay, two things. One, I want to hear more about the sister Jessica, who I just met, I think in the last chapter, because we hear a lot from Cindy, not a ton, but definitely more than Jessica. And so Jessica is this whole new perspective that I did not even know existed. And she adds a whole other layer to the story. So definitely hoping that there's more from her. And then also this original social worker continues to not be a good social worker. I'm just astounded.
Oh my goodness.
You wrote in that original report when the search angel was reading from it about like how she didn't think, she made so many assumptions, or I'm assuming the social worker was a woman, which I'm pretty sure she was a woman, but they made so many assumptions, like, oh, they didn't think that the parents wanted to explain a kid with some type of disability to their community. It's like, you can't think that. That's not something you assume.
Like, yes, shame culture is a thing, but to attribute it to a specific race.
Yeah. That's racist.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
The original social worker is a problem.
Oh my goodness. And like social work as a whole, it still needs work. The profession needs work.
Definitely.
Hopefully we can be a part of that work. And hopefully we are being a part of that work. But like, I don't want to make excuses for this past social worker by saying, well, it was the 80s, but like at the same time, I'm just like, yeah, I feel like the way that we talk about cultures and implicit bias and the way that we're aware of it now, like I feel like we're going in a good direction, and hopefully such reports will not be continued to be written?
I do agree. I think now that would never, well, not never, but there would be a problem now if that was a report. Whereas in a different time when the social worker was working, I don't think this was an exception.
Yeah. My goodness.
So here's to a brighter future.
Here's to a brighter future for sure. Oh, heavy stuff. Bio parents, medical racism, all the good stuff.
We've now hit medical racism in the last 3 episodes.
I know, but there's just so much. There's so much. How are you feeling?
Good. I feel maybe we unlock more questions than answers.
Probably.
But good.
That's awesome.
What about you? How are you feeling?
I am feeling like I want cinnamon sticks. Like I want French toast. Right now.
I have not stopped thinking about ice cream.
I have peanut butter ice cream in my fridge right now, and I love peanut butter chunks in ice cream. Not peanut butter flavored ice cream, chunks of peanut butter in ice cream.
Interesting.
Good stuff.
I don't even know that I've seen that.
There is a very specific ice cream shop.
Okay.
Where I live in this neighborhood that delivers.
That's dangerous.
It's so dangerous.
Maybe we'll need ice cream to deal with whatever is coming in the next couple chapters.
Oh, probably. But I will definitely see you next week. I'm excited to see what happens in the next few chapters.
Yes, thanks for having me.
All right. Bye.